The final putt has fallen, and Rory McIlory, in historic fashion, has won the 2011 United States Open Golf Championship. And I'm Mark Gray, along with our golf analyst, Michael Williams. 17 under par on a course like Congressional that was set up to really be difficult for these guys. So my question to you, Mike, is, was the course not set up as hard as many people thought, or was Rory McIlory simply lights out?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. Rory McIlory obviously played around 4 rounds for the ages, all 4 rounds in the 60s. I believe if he two-putted once, it maybe have been once. He just played 72 spectacular holes. Also, the USGA got a little bit unlucky because we had some weather. We had some rain that made the greens very receptive to shots. Made it a little bit easier for scoring. But you still have, as a player, you still have to hit those holes. And you have to hit those greens, you have to hit those putts. And Rory McIlory did just that.
It was amazing to watch this kid's demeanor throughout the entire week. The insatiable number of questions about the debacle at Augusta, but he never backed off. And you had players like Phil Mickelson who wouldn't come to the media room after they had a subpar round. So when you look at his game and you look at his demeanor, does he have the staying power to become perhaps the most dominant player in the world?
Well, I think he certainly has the game. And you look at that swing, there's absolutely no flaw in it. His putting stroke was superb this week. And the nerve and the demeanor are the things that maybe impress you the most out of everything. This kid, after he collapsed at the Masters, the interviews that he gave were exemplary. We've seen over and over again that this guy can go low in major championships. 63 holes at the Masters, at Quail Hollow, where he actually won his other tour event. This kid can shoot scores like nobody else. And with his demeanor, with that sort of calm and that arrogance now that he's added to it, wow, I mean, I think we can see a bunch of majors in his future.
Going back to Augusta this year, felt like that was a great opportunity to get my first major, and it obviously didn't quite work out. But to come back, straight away, at the U.S. Open straight after, and to win that is, it was nice. And as I said, to get one out of the way early, you can always call yourself a major champion now, and hopefully. In the not-so-distant future, I'll be able to call myself a multiple major champion.
What about a potential Rory slam? Could he run the table and win the Open Championship, the British Open as we know it on this side of the water, and perhaps the PGA at the end of the season?
Well, again, Rory was ahead after 18 holes at the British Open last year. He got killed by a bad draw in the second round where there were high winds in the 30s and 40s miles per hour, and he put up an 80 in what were incredibly difficult conditions. He can win any golf tournament on any course. He's got the length, he's got the short game, he's got everything you need. So I think where we used to say Tiger versus the field, we may be saying in future golf tournaments, well, is it Rory versus the field?
It would just be nice for him to be healthy again and get his knee and his Achilles in shape and be back out on the golf course, because he does bring a little something extra to tournaments. He's Tiger Woods, but I'm just happy to be sitting here with a trophy that has his name on it.
What's the deal with the Americans right now? I mean, there weren't any Americans in the last couple of groups, which means that this new generation of 20-somethings, of which there are quite a few Americans, not ready to step up just yet.
It's a very interesting question, and I'm not sure anybody has a particular answer for it, because clearly there are guys who hit the ball as far as Rory does. There are guys who have the physical ability that he does. But what makes all these European players so special and so tough? Some people think it's the nature of the European Tour itself. The way that these guys come together, they boost each other up. You have older players mentoring younger players, showing them the ins and outs of the game, where you have guys on our tour getting into their individual G5s and jetting off from location to location. There really is no contact. There's no cross-pollination, if you will, between talent sets and generations. So I think if our guys begin to get into the mindset that they have to begin to come together, not just in Ryder Cup years, but every week to week, and mentor these younger players, and you might see them advance a little bit more quickly. The main difference I see is maturity.
22 years old and a United States Open champion, and the future looks so promising. When I think about a headline that I would write, were I still in the newspaper game, to capitalize what we saw here this weekend, I borrow a title from an old school motion picture. A Star is Born. And we saw a star rise this weekend here with Rory McIlory.
Absolutely. He's a spectacular player. He has been for his young career. And boy, do we really want to see what he's going to come up with next. I just can't wait until the next major.
And that will come up in about 4 weeks, where you go to Britain for the British Open, and those howling winds and those tricky greens and that crazy Carnoustie type of rough. It will be interesting to see if the guy from Northern Ireland can add another feather to his cap.
Are we going to be there?
I'm going to be there in spirit, and much like the guys who are probably pulling for Rory in Belfast right now, I'm going to have a pint of Guinness with me as well.
I'll join you, lad, and a cigar, and a cigar.
And a cigar. Mike's been great hanging out with you at Congressional. Fine work as always, and we look forward to doing it again real soon. Rory McIlory, the 2011 United States Open Golf Champion. For Michael Williams, I'm Mark Gray. Thanks for hanging out with us at Congressional. It's been our pleasure to cover it for you, and we will see you later on down the road.